Welcome back to Death Before Booze. I'm Sam.
I'm Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Sam.
And we are still on our road trip on the open road. What was that from? On the open road. Oh, Goofy movie.
Oh, it's the Goofy movie. Oh, I love it.
You saw Corbin Blue perform that at like the whatever bowl in California, and he did Eye to Eye or whatever. It was like really good. Okay, yeah, sorry. Much better than the Northwest performance. I didn't say that. Okay, so I forgot facts, but we'll do those next time because
Yeah, I got them next time. We'll do
that's fine. I'll get the facts done for next time. But so this is episode 45. Thanks for hanging out for 45 episodes. This is our first Southwest. We're going to be here this week and next week. And I'm going to tell you all about the Hotel Monte Vista.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this is like a very straightforward case, but it's filled with girth. So have you ever heard the saying, meet me at the Monte V?
I have.
Okay, good, because that's the Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona is what created that. So back when Route 66 was, created and stuff, and Arizona was getting a lot more tourism, the people of Flagstaff were like, bro, we need to get in on this. We're going to make some money. We need to have a hotel. They had hotels, but they were like super run down and super outdated, and you didn't want to stay there. So they're like, we need like a 5-star accommodation. We need the biggest and the best. We're going to make this like the number one place to stay in Arizona. And in April of 1926, they started fundraising. So the townspeople came together and they raised a shit ton of money. And they also approved allotting tax dollars to creating this hotel. Now, it's like kind of unheard of. Like, why would my tax dollars go to build a hotel? But the people, Flagstaff, were like, guys, think of all the money we're going to make from the tourists who come and stay. Yeah. We're going to make it back. So, NBD, let's throw what we can at this thing. So, in the first month, they raised $200,000 back then. So, right now, that's like $3.5 million. In a fucking month.
That's
I mean, granted, there was taxes involved. I know some big writer guy donated a bunch of money too, but, it was the it thing. We were all in, balls to the wall. We're doing this. Construction started on June 8th of that same year, and we're ready to go. So included in this hotel were going to be 3 floors with 73 rooms and suites. It's kind of weird, 73. 3 floors, 73.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like some sort of thing. I didn't see anything about it, but like...
It's a weird number, I agree.
Like 73. Why couldn't you just like squeeze in 2 more, make it 75 like a normal? Anyway, not my...
Or at least 1 more so it's a, even number. But it's okay.
I mean, not my circus, not my monkeys. I wasn't there.
Exactly.
Also, the new local post office was going to be stationed there. I think that was another way to kind of be able to say, oh yeah, we're throwing taxes at... We're going to get a post office out of this. So it makes sense. Also, there was the Monte V Cocktail Lounge. Now, like I said, this is 1926, 1927, so Prohibition is on the way. Like, it's coming. We see the sign. We see the writing on the wall. Mm-hmm. So they did make the Monte V Cocktail Lounge that was kind of hidden away as the Coconino Sun, which was their local paper. That was kind of their cover story. No, the newspaper's here. Yeah, okay. I went for a drink there after hours, but it's the newspaper. Like, it's fine. No big deal. Whatever. So as the project was going, they were calling it the community hotel because the community had given so much to build the hotel. These are like, they are very...
That makes sense.
Like town-oriented people. They're like, no, we're doing this. We're doing it together. And then some of the townspeople were like, well, who's going to want to go to the community hotel? It sounds kind of dumb. So they had a contest, which is like completely unorthodox, where they like threw in all these different names. And the name chosen was the Monte Vista. And this name was contributed by a 12-year-old. So a 12-year-old named the Hotel Monte Vista.
Interesting.
Isn't that cool? I was very excited about that. So the Monte Vista continued to be the longest publicly held commercial property in Arizona until a private investor purchased it in the early 60s.
Yeah.
Cool. So here are some fun facts, because I thought of this, but I didn't think about doing the Southwest. But I'll get there. It's okay. So many famous people have stayed at the hotel, including President Harry Truman, John Wayne, Spencer Tracy, Humphrey Bogart, Clark Gable, Anthony Hopkins, Esther Williams, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Michael J. Fox, and Barbara Stanwyck.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know. And a lot of the... So at the time, like... Well, not at the time. When, like, Westerns were big and, like, you know, all the big studios were filming Westerns, a lot of them were filmed in Arizona. Like, you know, it's close enough to California. They can get all their people there. They can do what they need to do.
That makes sense.
But they would just rent out the whole hotel for the cast and crew.
I mean, that makes sense because you're just,
Yeah, so that's why a lot of these people were there. Also, now, today, if you go, most of the rooms are named after the famous people who stayed in those hotel rooms.
That's really neat.
That's
very
fun.
Cute.
It's also rumored that this had been one of the filming locations for the 1942 American romantic drama Casablanca.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently one of the either rooms in the hotel or the cocktail lounge, I can't remember right now, but they were filmed at the Hotel Monte Vista. This is another really cool fact. So Mary Costigan, she was the second woman in the world to be granted a radio broadcasting license in 1927. So she had moved from Flagstaff to Detroit to help her, like, really sick brother. He was running the Majestic Opera House in Flagstaff. So she came in to help him run it. And then as he got sicker and sicker, she took over. And she became a very prominent member of society of Flagstaff. So now she's running the Opera House, and she starts her own little radio show in the back of the Opera House. But it grew, and it got really big, so she needed more room. So in 1929, Mary moved KFXY to the Monte Vista Hotel, and she was the first woman to have their own radio show. And it broadcasted out of the Hotel Monte Vista.
Good for her.
Yep.
Get it.
More than 400 residents showed up for her maiden broadcast, kicking off the powerful 100-watt show, and it aired for 3 hours every day.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, we were like, oh my God, we need to keep our show under an hour. This bitch talked for 3 straight hours. All right, I'm just saying. Every fucking day of her life, she just talked for 3 hours. I think I'd have to curl up in a corner and die. All right, thank you. There's also tunnels under the hotel, and they snake throughout Flagstaff. So they go from Northern Arizona University through to the downtown Flagstaff. You can access these tunnels from the Weatherford Hotel, Babbitt's Back Country, and the Monte Vista. It's all like through the basements and stuff. So it's rumored the tunnels were built by Chinese immigrants in the early 1900s. So there was this huge fire in Flagstaff, and it burned down most of downtown. And the people of Flagstaff started blaming the Chinese immigrants, saying because they didn't clean right and they didn't do things right and they didn't cook the way you should cook, that they burnt down half the city. And so the Chinese built these tunnels, apparently. They built these tunnels so they could get around town without being harassed on the street. So they just created their own tunnel system so they didn't have to deal with, people of Arizona.
I wish, like, we could do that in normal day life. Like, we could create our own tunnels to avoid people.
I mean...
Wouldn't that be cool?
This is the two types of people. You have the first woman radio broadcaster talking for 3 straight hours a day. And then you have the Chinese immigrants going, fuck people, I'm a chill underground. You do you, boo.
You know what?
Like... I don't blame them.
Idea.
I mean, if I could have a tunnel to your house, imagine we just let the cats in. I mean, it'd be a really long tunnel, but like the cats and the pup, like they could just run back and forth.
They could just run back. That would be so. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I think we should invest in that.
I mean, not that I'm trying to triangulate ourselves, but by car for me to get to Jen's or Jen to get here is at least 45 minutes without traffic. So it would be a very, very long fucking tunnel.
But you know what? It would be a great source of exercise if you just like walk all the way down. I like
Oh
that.
no, we're gonna have to put in like a little trolley or something. I'm not walking. Suck it. No. You know how many like beer fridges we're gonna have to put between here and your house for me to walk that? No, we're good. That's cute. I love how you think I would walk. I love that for you. So in these tunnels, we're still in the tunnels. It said that there are large alcoves, and some of these alcoves were used for opium dens, moonshine distilleries during Prohibition, obviously, gambling parlors with machines and tables, and other relics have been found in the tunnels. I mean, now it's basically used for storage and pipes for a lot of these businesses that have access. Like, you know, it's just kind of there. And a lot of the electric has been moved underground to make it easier. So there's power lines and stuff under there. But, you know, as they were renovating and making sure everything was sturdy, like they'd find other relics and things of what else happened down there.
Right.
And basically it shows that there was a lot of suspicious activity that took place in those tunnels.
Yeah.
If it's not still happening today, in a sense. Okay, so now we're back to the Monte V Cocktail Lounge. So it was open during the Prohibition era under the guise of the local newspaper. It was rumored that the Monte Vista was used for a major bootlegging operation. Obviously, like why wouldn't they?
I mean, yeah.
Officers put an end to it in 1931 with a large official raid. But once Prohibition ended in 1933, so literally 2 years later, they just said fuck it and reopened. But they just reopened the cocktail lounge. It was like, yep, here we go. And it's open to this day. So you can still go to
That's very cool.
the Hotel Monte Vista's cocktail lounge. And they've renovated it, but it's like the same. You're walking where, like, you know, in the 1930s, they were bootlegging. Totally cool.
That's awesome. I like that.
So this is what I mean by it's straightforward, because now we're at the Ghost already. Like, we're here. We're ready. We're doing this. And this place packs a punch. Like, I'm all about going to haunted places, but some of the things here, I'd be like, no, no.
But it's Arizona. I feel like Arizona has a lot of those type of hotels.
They have like
that
the
are very,
vortexes and stuff. So I feel like because of the natural surroundings, and like I honestly think it's probably a lot of what the rock composition is for the stone tape theory. But whatever it is, there's a lot more energy on the western part of the U.S. and they just ghosts thrive on this. This is what the paranormal love. So the Hotel Monte Vista has always been known for its hauntings. Many people report the usual temperature fluctuations, feelings of being watched, hearing footsteps, dragging sounds, laughing, sounds of large parties, as well as disembodied voices and growls. Don't love that. Apparitions are seen, shadow figures are seen, and people report being touched and pushed all over this fucking hotel. So one employee told the story that she was like a brand new employee. She'd worked there for like 6-7 weeks. Nothing crazy. She was in a guest room. They'd come down to the lobby and was like, look, our bathroom door locked itself and we can't get in. So she's like, all right, I'll come up and help. So she gets up to the room, and it's her and the couple who are in the room. They're an older couple. And you know, like the bathrooms that have the lock on the door, it's like the pinhole lock where you should really just be able to take like a bobby pin or a really big safety pin and like push it in and unlock the door. Like stupid easy. Well, they were having the hardest time. Couldn't get it to open. And like, you know, 10, 15 minutes of jimmying the door. And the woman finally goes, you know, I've heard this place is haunted. What if we just ask one of the ghosts to help us? So they kind of look at each other. I mean, let's just try this. It's easy, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah.
So they both look at each other, and at like kind of the same time, they're like, hey, can you unlock the door for us? Lock popped open, door swung open.
Get the fuck out.
Can't make this shit up.
Fuck out. Get it out.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So there was also a guest staying at the hotel who saw a door on like his floor open. So like he was like leaving his room and another door opened. And you know, I always have that when I'm in a hotel, like when I open my door and somebody else opens their door and I'm like, oh my God, we're like door open mates. Like, yay. Like we're both going somewhere. We have things to do. It's so fun. Yeah. So the dude comes out the door. He sees the other door opens and he sees a shadow figure run out. And he like fumbles with his phone and tries to get it on camera mode so we can like videotape this, because like he sees the shadow figure like running down the hall, and as he's filming he can see the shadow figure, but the camera doesn't pick it up. However, what the camera does pick up is an EVP of a man screaming help, and you can hear it like he's running and like getting further from you.
See, I thought he was rushing to get to the bar, but
yeah, that would be me. Help, I need a champagne. Get me my Prosecco. But no.
But no, that's not at all.
No, that's not what happened at all. Okay, so now I'm going to cover specific ghosts in specific rooms at times. So the first one we're going to hit is the Meat Man in room 220. So this was a long-term boarder, and he had this really weird habit of hanging raw meat from the chandelier in the room.
I mean, who doesn't do that?
I mean, my spare room is just 110%. Like, I clean it out when my mom comes. But otherwise, like, my side of beef is just in there all the time. You have to age it somehow. There. You know, it's just there. So in the early 1980s, this lodger was found in his room, and he had been dead for 3 days. So walking by the room going, that smells weird. Tip nobody off, because they're like, oh, this fucker's got meat hanging from thing, it's the meat. Yeah, it's fine. But not long after this guy's death, they clean out the room, they clean out his stuff, they do whatever for the guy. But a maintenance worker had to go in and update the room a little bit. So he goes in, he figures out what he needs, he leaves the room, he closes it, locks it, because he's got to go downstairs and get whatever the fuck he's getting. And a few minutes later, he comes back in, unlocks the door, finds the television on and at full volume, and the linens from the bed have all been completely ripped off and thrown about the room.
I would close the door and be like, I'm not.
I think that might be my last day.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this was fun. Cool beans. Bye. As of today, it is common that the television will turn itself on and off. There are also reports that people who are sleeping in the room, like especially if they like sleep on their stomach, they will feel two cold male hands touching them in the night, specifically on their back. It's pushing them down into the mattress. Yeah. People have also said that they can smell meats, and as they follow the smell, they end up at room 220 and it just stops.
Huh.
Fun.
Okay.
Okay. Then there are the women of the night in room 306, which is also known as the Gary Cooper room. So in the 1930s or 40s, like in that time period, Flagstaff's red light district was just south of the railroad. So that's 2 blocks away from the Monte Vista. So, of course, you know, sex workers hung out. Yeah. Like, why not? Man, this is where the money is. This is where we're going to get paid. I'm fucking going. I would too. Girl, you do you. You do you. Okay? So, in the early 40s, 2 sex workers were escorted by a gentleman caller to room 306. During their visiting, things took a horrible turn. So people reported that there was laughing and fun noises going on until they weren't. And then the women started screaming. They started hearing banging. And there was just shouting through the halls. And everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? So we're not sure if the women were killed in the room or were still alive. But the gentleman caller threw both women out the window from the 3rd story, one by one.
What the fuck? Like, what?
We don't even know what happened. We don't know who the guy is. We don't know who the girl is. We just know that this has happened. And one of the women, apparently, this is why it's like we're not sure if they were killed in the room or they died from impact.
Right.
But apparently one of the women survived the fall but died a few days later in the hospital. So over the years, guests have reported being awakened in the middle of the night and unable to go back to sleep because they feel they are being watched. Specifically, male guests, they report the feeling of having hands placed over their mouths and throats, or are awakened unable to breathe. and they think it's the women fighting back.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me.
I get it.
Or girls.
I'd fight. Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
I'm taking out your eyeball. If you're going to throw me out a window, I'm taking as much of you with me as I can.
We'll pop the eyeball out like,
I saw it done in a movie. I think I could do it. There's the phantom bellboy. So guests have reported hearing a knock at that door and a voice saying room service. When the guest opens the door, obviously no one's there. It's also said if you answer from inside the room, I didn't order room service or I didn't get anything,
right,
he'll respond with, are you sure? And when you go to the door to chat with him in person, he's gone. There have been people who have seen the bellboy, either just in his like red jacket, that like bellboys had like that red jacket with the tassels and the special buttons and the hat. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I'm not quite sure if he has the hat, but I do know he has that red jacket. So they've seen him like walk up and down the halls. But also, so one story is he was knocking on the door of 210. And somebody across the hall heard the knocking, but didn't realize if it was his door or not. So he looked out his peephole and he saw the red jacket with a tray in his hand and everything and heard it happen. And when he opened the door, all of a sudden the kid was gone.
Huh.
Huh. So then John Wayne actually experienced this ghost while he was staying there twice. Mr. Wayne reported that the bellboy seemed very friendly and he did not feel threatened by its presence. So that's good. Another common spirit that runs around the halls, kids see him most. It's a little boy, and he's seen in like the guest halls as well as the lobby. And some women, specifically mothers, have reported feeling a child grab their hand in the elevator.
Yeah.
Also, in the elevator, guests and employees have encountered an old elevator attendant who they describe as very polite. And this is different than the bellboy. So now, like today, like most elevators, it's self-service. So you hit the button and it goes.
Right, you hit the button.
But while you're walking into the elevator, you'll see his reflection in the mirror. And by the time you turn to talk to the human that you think is there, his reflection is gone and so is he. You'll also see a phantom hand move across the doors of the elevator where the gate used to be. And there are people who have had full interactions with this apparition. So it's a full-bodied guy. You can't see through him. He is there. He's talking to you. And he politely asks, what floor can I take you to?
Which floor?
You die. So there is a dancing couple. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I don't know what I would do.
No, I was just like...
Yeah. There's a dancing couple. So on several occasions, the lounge staff and patrons have witnessed a transparent couple dancing at the Monte Vista cocktail lounge.
That's sweet.
They are seen in formal dress, laughing, smiling, and just dancing. And then they just fade away.
That's sweet.
Also, 2 women who are dressed from the 30s or 40s have been seen hanging around the pool tables, which are on the second floor of the cocktail lounge. And it's thought that this could be the 2 sex workers who were thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And they tend to disappear when they realize someone has seen them. Like someone's looking at them. They fade away.
That's interesting.
That freaks me out.
Huh.
Don't like that.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting. Oh.
Then there's the baby in the basement. And this is where we start getting into the really weird, creepy stuff. Like, all these are, like, creepy in a sense, but everybody's been kind of nice so far. Like, other than the meat guy who's just kind of weird. Yeah. Like, okay, I really don't want my TV turning on in the middle of the night after I fell asleep. But he's not mean. He's not, like, menacing. You just know someone's there watching you. So, the baby in the basement, there's a disembodied cry of an infant that turns into a deep man's laughter in the basement.
Oh, I really hate that.
This is mostly reported by maintenance and laundry personnel, and many employees have experienced this multiple times while working on the property.
I would never go down there.
No, and this is where, like, the laundry is. Like, you have to go down there. Mm-mm. So some staff are disturbed by the crying, which turns into laughter, and leave or run, like sprint, from the basement as quickly as they can once the crying starts. They don't even let it get to the laughter. They're like, nope, deuces, fuck it, I'll be back when, you know, the dryer's done. But there's no documented reason for there to be crying in the basement at all. Like, it's not like, you know, some poor woman, like, had a baby and it died down there. Like,
and then it died. Nope.
Nothing like that.
Good. Great.
Also in the basement, and we're not sure if it is attributed to this disembodied cry, but there is a 6-foot entity who they affectionately named the Shadow Man. He makes people feel very uneasy, or even gives people like a menacing, dark feeling, like they're being like stalked, kinda.
Yeah.
I hate it. Causing staff to feel as though they are not welcome and need to leave immediately. He's also been seen behind the bar in the cocktail lounge, and he will walk up behind you. So you feel somebody's behind you and like looming over you and you freak out. But also there are other people. So like if it's behind the bar, he'll walk up behind one of the bartenders and the bartender will be like, fuck, someone's behind me. And a patron at the bar will be like, what the fuck is that behind you? And then he just disappears. Yeah, I don't like that. It's also reported that shadow people run in and out of the tunnels. That sounds of the raid that took place at the Monte Vista Cocktail Lounge in the 1930s, you can hear it happening in the basement, and you hear like a ruckus start as all the bootleggers start taking as much as they can out of the basement and in through the tunnels to save it in themselves. And there are times, you know, again, the stone tape theory is if it's the right time of year, the right moon phase, the right time of day, if all of the elements align, you know, all the planets align and everything is perfect, you can almost see the recurring apparitions do this.
I feel like that would kind of be neat because it's kind of like watching a movie.
Yeah.
But also very like...
Could you imagine like seeing it in sepia? Like you're down there and all of a sudden you hear all these things and you can feel it too because you feel everything moving past you and people grabbing and screaming like, we gotta go, grabbing all their stuff and then running down through the tunnels. So they're not quite sure if the Shadow Man is one of the bootleggers who got caught or possibly even a Chinese immigrant who maybe something happened to in the tunnels between the opium dens, or maybe fallen when they were first building them. And, you know, he's just angry because, you know, he shouldn't have to be in the tunnels anyway. He should be able to be outside.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different factors that could be what the Shadow Man is, but they feel that he definitely has some sort of ties to the tunnels, whether he helped build them, whether he worked in them, whether he hid in them. And because everybody's having such a great time still, it kind of pisses him off.
Yeah, you know,
I get it.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like it, but
oh no. I don't like that.
I don't like it. But...
Okay, so then there's the bank robber. So this is the most documented haunting in the building. So in 1970, 3 men robbed a bank in Flagstaff, like a couple of blocks away from the Monte Vista. They escaped with their plunder, and they're like, yeah, bitch, let's fucking go. So instead of like, you know, going away and leaving town, they go to celebrate in their shit, in their burglary shit, with the fucking bag of money, and they go sit at the cocktail lounge at the Monte Vista, because, you know, you gotta have a drink. I don't understand, but this is what they did. And while they're sitting at the bar, one of them had taken a bullet to like their side or their arm, something like that. And they're like, oh no, it's a flesh wound. We're good. Don't you worry. Well, before he could finish his first drink, he bled out, leaning against a pillar. So he's sitting on his bar stool, leaning against the pillar, and he didn't even finish his drink.
Wow.
Since that day, staff have reported hearing a man saying hello or good morning whenever opening the bar. They see shadows constantly out of the corner of their eyes. Bar stools and glasses move around the bar on their own. So, like, people's drinks will get switched right in front of them. So if you and I were sitting there and we both had different drinks, like, our drinks could get switched. And I wouldn't mind drinking out of your glass, but imagine if we don't know each other.
Yeah,
I hate that. That's disgust. Like, I'm more disgusted that I might have to drink out of somebody else's glass that I don't know than, like, I'm afraid of this ghost. Like, I take umbrage with the fact that you're switching my drink. One, I might not like what they're having. And two, who knows where their mouth has been. And I'd rather see the ghost or have an experience with him than deal with that.
And be like, excuse me, sir. That is not my drink.
I did not buy an IPA. Go fuck yourself.
That is not my drink.
How dare you? No. No, that's not okay. He's also known to throw alcohol bottles from behind the shelf, both while open, like while the hotel is open and the people are there, as well as when the bar is closed. And he tends to do this. He told the psychic that he really throws bottles when assholes enter the bar because he doesn't want to deal with them and he wants them to go away.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, he'll also knock their drinks onto them. That was another thing he does. Like, if he doesn't like you, you're at the bar and he thinks you're being an asshole, he'll just throw your drink on you and be like, oops, what happened?
I'm okay with that, though. I'm all right with that. I like that one.
This is kind of a quick aside, but in the 30s, when, they were raided, days after the raid for the cocktail lounge, days after the raid, people outside and on the upper floors of the hotel could hear the party going on. And, like, police would come back and it was still raided. Like, it was still, like, knocked down, a mess. There was nobody there. So the hauntings really did happen the whole time. This isn't just, like, a brand new thing. Yeah. And to this day, people can still hear, like I said, especially from the basement, they can hear the raid happening or the party happening upstairs.
Right.
All right. And this is, like, the big one. This is the big kahuna of crazy. So if you know the Hotel Monte Vista, you've heard of this. It's the rocking chair room 305. So this is the pièce de résistance of hauntings, because the woman who haunts this room is an intelligent spirit who has no problem communicating with you. So room 305 is the most active guest room on property. The room has been featured on multiple ghost shows, including Portals to Hell with Katrina Weidman and Jack Osbourne, which I love. And a lot of this came from there. So the story is that an older woman who was a long-term rental who stayed in room 305 would sit in her rocking chair, stare out the window for hours on end, but no one really knew what she was watching for or looking for. Some say it could have been she was waiting for her son or her husband or a lover, like something of that nature. But unfortunately, one day she passed away while sitting in the rocking chair. Since then, there have been numerous reports of seeing the woman in the chair or in the room. They've also heard her humming in the room. So guests and housekeepers have reported walking into the room and seeing the chair rocking by itself, or there's also a knocking that comes from inside the closet. Staff who think, they're like, this can be explained. Like, the chair rocking, you know what? Maybe the floor is not flat. Maybe there's a dip in the floor. Maybe there's a draft. They'll move the chair thinking, all right, well, if I move it, it'll even out.
Right.
The chair will just put itself back where it was because it wants to look outside the window.
I mean, leave the chair alone.
And the chair moving can happen either while you're in the room. So let's say a maid came in and moved the chair. She came in, she saw it rocking, and she's like, that's fucking weird. So she moves the chair a little bit, does whatever, and she turns around. She turns back, the chair is moved. Or it could be like she went out to her car in the hallway and grabbed more towels or did something like that, and a few minutes goes by, and the chair is moved when she walks back in the room. So depending on what Granny is doing in that moment is how quickly Granny fixes the chair.
Right.
So there's one family, and this is like the main story of this room. There's one family who was staying in room 305. So the dad, whose name is Hollis, he had 3 young girls, and they heard about hauntings. And his oldest daughter was like, they were all under the age of 10. So like this was, she was on YouTube, and she was like, I'm fearless. I can talk to ghosts. I can do this. Dad, you're going to take me here. And one day he's finally like, yep, let's go to the Hotel Monte Vista and see how strong you are at this. And he's thinking he's just going to fuck with his kids. Like, he's like, this is going to be great. I get a vacation. I get to fuck with my kids. It's going to be the best prank ever. Like, I'm going to love this. So he rents the room, and the only room available was room 305. He purchases a glow-in-the-dark Ouija board. And then he sets up a camera, like his camera phone, and starts a live. And I think it was like on Facebook or something. So they light some candles. They get the ambiance going. And at first, everything's pretty benign. They're asking dumb questions, but the planchette's moving. Like, it's answering the questions. And then Hollis says, you know, we had the heater on because even in Arizona at night, it gets cold certain times of year. He's like, we had the heater on and the room got cold. He's like, it was warm when we started. It got cold and we all felt it. And he's like, and then all of a sudden we all started getting nauseous and queasy. And we started saying, dude, my stomach's not right. Something's not right. So they keep asking questions. And somebody on the live suggests saying, ask her to move the rocking chair. And now, you know, as the live is going, like, you know, it's not like a big live. It's like these people's friends and family. They're like, we're going to play this at midnight on whatever day, you know, watch. So finally, the dad goes to his daughter, who's like all badass, like, go ahead, ask for the rocking chair to move. She goes, will you move the rocking chair? And nothing happens. So he repeats it. And as soon as he says, will you move the rocking chair turns from the window and faces them.
I would yeet the fuck out of there so bad. Oh my God.
Okay. Like, this one even gets me. That was enough for the family. And I'm telling you, like, you see the girls, like, because the guy grabs his phone because he moves it from the Ouija board onto the chair when he goes, all right, move the chair. And the chair fucking moves. I think he grabbed the phone and it was still attached to the holder so they could record. Because you see the legs of this thing pop up and he turns with the girls and the girls are climbing over each other to get out of this room. They run to the stairs. They're crying. They're running up the stairs. The wife is like, what the fuck just happened? So the family goes to the lobby. They leave the room. They're like, we're done. I can't. They check out of the hotel and the guy at the front desk, like, Hollis is like, all right, I need to go back up and get our shit. And the guy at the front desk is like, okay, I'll help you. And he's kind of laughing. And Hollis is like, dude, you don't understand this happened. He goes, no, you don't understand. This happens all the time. Like, this is your first time it's happened to you. But this happens, like, all the time. It is definitely a thing that people will leave this hotel in the middle of the night. Not just from room 305, from any of the rooms. He's like, no, you don't understand. This is a normal occurrence. You just experienced it your first time. So the dad only went back for this interview with Portals to Hell, which I'm assuming paid very well. And also on Portals to Hell, they brought in, like, the psychic. So, like, for them, they do a little bit of, like, a walkthrough, and then they bring in a psychic, and then they do their investigation. Like, that's their setup. So in her room, the psychic was like, she's not mad. She's mostly lonely, but she loves to communicate. So if you give her the option, she will. So she's not like an evil spirit, but she does like fucking with people because it's fun.
Yeah.
Which is good for her.
It's funny.
I mean, if I was stuck in a room for like 90 some odd years, fuck it. Yeah, I'm gonna fuck with you too. You can only watch so much out the window. So the hotel is currently located at 100 North San Francisco Street in Flagstaff, Arizona. It is still open, and it is styled in the way when it first opened in the 1920s. So, really cool vibe. You can stay overnight with room rates ranging from $110 to $165 a night. You can go visit the Monte Vista Cocktail Lounge, again, boasting it was the first speakeasy in Flagstaff. They have live music, pool, billiards, great drinks, apparently. Go visit. There's also a second cocktail lounge and the Lotus Lounge, which I think is like a sushi restaurant. But they also have a note on their website, quote, we encourage communication with the ghosts if you're looking for an extraordinary experience. If you would like to hear about some of the phenomena, feel free to ask the employees around the building. Our wonderful housekeeping staff has some of the most intriguing tales.
Interesting.
So if you go to the Hotel Monte V, chat with the staff, say hi to the ghosts, and make sure you report anything and everything back to us because I need to know every detail.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Ooh, and that is the Hotel Monte Vista.
Chills.
Yup. Told you, it was a pretty simple story, but it had a lot of oomph, which is what made me so excited. 3 floors. It's 3 floors, maybe 4 with the lobby. 3 restaurant venues, and like how many ghosts?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Spooky season has begun, and there is no better time to visit our girl Jess's shop. Make It Macabre is an amazing 5-star shop for all your spooky needs. She has new designs and is adding wallets to her store. So check her out at Make It Macabre on Etsy so you can get yourself prepared for some spooky fun this season.
Craziness. Okay, your turn. Story.
Well, we're also going to another hotel because just in case you don't want to stay in Arizona. In Colorado, we're going to the Stanley Hotel.
Stanley Hotel.
There's a lot. There's a lot of history behind this one, but
oh yeah. Have you ever actually read The Shining? Like, I'm sure you're going to touch on it, but have you read The Shining? Bitch, The Shining. It took me, okay, I'm not saying I'm like the fastest reader, but this book literally took me 4 months because I kept having to put it down because I was scared.
It's like it's very, and it's Stephen King books. I was just talking about this. They're some of them are very like overwhelming because they're so long, and that's one of them that I'm like, actually one day I'll get to it.
From me to you, reading it, like, it is quick. It's a very honestly easy read in my opinion. Like,
right.
It took me so long. It wasn't because of length. Like, I probably could have read it in a week if I really sat there and like could stay seated and read it.
Scaries.
There were things I was please don't get mad at me, people who read. There were times where I would get to a point where I was so scared I would skim a few pages to get ahead and put my bookmark there because I knew if I kept having to read this specific instance, like, and really take it in, I'd be like, no, and I would put it on my DNR. Like, I loved it. I loved this book. Oh my God, read this book. I will give it to you. You can borrow it. You can have my copy. I'll buy another one. I don't even care. Stephen King, take my fucking money. I will buy another one. Read this book. Everybody read this book, and I give you permission to skim through the scary parts. Okay, I'm done. Please tell me stories. I'm sorry.
So, in Colorado, the Estes Valley, it used to be where the Ute and Arapacho tribes used to be. It was a spiritual valley used for hunting, and it was just surrounded by a beautiful landscape because if you see pictures of it, it looks like it's just out of a book because that's how everything is so wonderful and beautiful. Now, because of this, we know someone wants to purchase the land. So in 1872, the 4th Earl of Dunraven, who was Irish, was not even an American citizen, was like, you know what? Kind of want in on this land.
Let's go.
But because of the Homestead Act at the time, it prohibited foreigners from purchasing land to do whatever they'd like with it. So he was able to get some friends to acquire land through the Homestead Act and apparently with the Homestead Act, all you have to do is prove that you have somewhat of a building or somewhat of something. So people would kind of just put 4 walls together and be like, that's a house, but they own it. So then they'd sell it type of thing. I don't know. It's just it's very weird and sketchy.
Okay, so wait, I'm just going to say this back. So the Earl had one of his friends buy the land for him, basically. Put up
many friends.
Okay, well, yeah, it's a lot.
Amount.
It's like Walt Disney with all of his LLCs. But, so they built a couple shacks, and then they were like, okay, government, look, I built my house. I'm living here now. Yep. And then when the government's like, we don't love it, but okay, they're like, cool, I'm going to go sell it to Dunraven. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Okay, I'm back on board. Yep. Thank you.
That's exactly what it was.
Cool.
They didn't specify what kind of building. They just said you have to, all
I need is a shit shack. Dig a hole, put my little moon in the door, and I'm good to go. Fucking Shrek, get out of my swamp.
So the sneaky strategy paid off. So eventually he'd have people sell it to him. So he eventually accumulated 15,000 acres of land.
Nice.
Through this whole scheme. The goal was for him to create a hotel for him and his friends, his rich friends, because they wanted to go hunting. They wanted to do their little wealthy aristocrat getaways and stuff. So he really didn't have the desire to make it as a community as the Monte Vista. It was more of a, I want it for me because I'm rich and I have.
This is very Downton Abbey when they go to the Highlands.
Yeah.
When do we get to do cool aristocratic shit like this? Please join our Patreon. You can find it at deathbeforebooze.com/Patreon.
He did build the Estes Park Hotel. He wasn't popular among the locals, especially the ranchers and the farmers, because he was kind of a dickhead.
What?
Like, that's kind of what it was. So.
I can't believe that.
He never really... It didn't turn out the way he wanted, because he expected a little playground of like a hunting lodge and stuff. Didn't turn out that way. So he was eventually looking to sell, which is where Freeland Oscar Stanley comes in. And I'm going to just kind of refer to him as F.O. because that's what everybody in the documentary called him. So Stanley was from Maine. He and his brother actually invented a bunch of stuff, and that's how they got really wealthy. The first thing, which really interesting, was the dry plate photography process. I didn't know that, and I was like, that is so cool. He did sell it to George Cassman, who owned Kodiak, which is how
we have film.
We have film.
Yeah.
The Stanleys also invented the first steam-powered car called the Stanley Steamer.
Not the rug cleaning people. The rug cleaning people.
I kept getting it.
I know.
I was like, no, it's not this.
It's not the same thing. When we go to Mystic in September, they have a big car show, and one of the guys there has one of the first Stanley steamers. It's really cool.
That's neat.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Neat. Stanley seemed like a pretty awesome guy, and he had all of this wealth from all of these things. Now, when he was in his 50s, he contracted tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
So his doctor recommended, hey, you got to go down and get some mountain air because that's going to help to get rid of the TB, which we've talked about before when we talked about tuberculosis, especially when you talked about Waverly Hills. That's kind of what people were like, open the windows, get it all fresh. Okay, so he happened to know a doctor in Denver. So he was like, you know what, let me and the wife go for the summer and let's check it out. After vacationing for only the summer, he was like, I love this place and I want this to be a thing. He purchased the land from Dunraven and was going to name a new hotel that he was going to build after Dunraven. So he was going to call it the Dunraven. But the locals were like, no, that's not a good idea.
No.
We don't like him.
He's a dick.
So they wrote a petition and said, we think it would be best if it's named after you. It would be a better story. And we like you. We don't like him. So, okay.
There you go.
So he named it
Popularity contest
Stanley Hotel.
At its finest. Well, if you insist, of course I'll name it after me.
Although it's really funny because a lot of people who do take over stuff are like, it's going to be named after me. But he was like, I don't really want that. I don't really want that. And they're like, no, but we want you to name it after you.
Well, I mean, from what I understand, him and his wife were actually extremely humble.
They were great people.
Yeah.
From what I read and listened to in the documentaries, like they were wonderful people. They didn't have any kids, so they had a lot of wealth. And this was just beautiful. Eventually, the tuberculosis did now, could it be because of the, I don't know, eventually did subside, so he got better. But he continued to do this and come here because, like it's a vacation place. So it took 2 years to build the 11 buildings. And it was one of the only hotels built in the area at the time with a power plant. So he had electricity, which is not something that a lot of other hotels had. So with this, he created jobs. He created tourism because people wanted to freaking stay here. And he brought his automobiles because Estes Park never had a railroad. So there was never a railroad that came through. So he basically created a roadway. He brought his automobiles, which he called mountain wagons, that seated a lot of people. So it's kind of like a shuttle. People would go to the train station. They pick people up, and then they drive them to the hotel. It's very before the time, because like when you go to like a resort, they're like, we're going to take you to your room. It's kind of like exactly what this is. So that's really cool.
Think of the Mickey Express that they used to have at Disney World from Orlando Airport to like the hotels back in the day before COVID.
That makes sense for Disney World.
Yeah. But they don't have it anymore.
No.
Dicks.
The main hotel and the concert hall were completed and opened in 1909, and the manor was fully complete by 1910. It was modeled after a New England style, and it became the global destination at the time. The hotel really was only open for the 90 days during the summer months, and then it closed. FO only stayed during the summer. It never made a lot of money. So it just kind of became a running thing where during the off season, he'd be back in Maine. He'd come back with a wad of cash to make sure that the hotel kept maintenance up. So realistically, he's like, I'm losing money on this, but at the same time, it didn't really matter because he loved this so much. So now during the 1920s, he sold the hotel off, and for 5 generations, it struggled because no one's bringing the money in. Nobody's really staying until our friend showed up and stayed there in 1974. So Stephen King and his wife Tanya visited. He was at the time a struggling writer, which now when you look at his anthology of books and movies, you're like, holy shit.
But knew struggle? What?
Yeah, he was in the middle of writing a book and he was just like, I just need whatever. So the locals in the area were like, you should stay at the Stanley because, there it is. They happened to come at the very last day of the season. So like the last day in September, and the staff was like, you can stay, but you're literally the only people who are going to be here. So that's fine. It's just, you have basically the whole run to yourself. So they went down to the bar. They heard some stories about the place, the haunted happenings that are going on, the history. Stephen King had a nightmare during his stay where in that hallway, so it's kind of like if you've seen the movie The Shining, that hallway with the twins at the end, it's kind of that, where a fire hose came out and was attacking his son. Now his son wasn't there, so he woke up and was like, holy fuck. But that's such a weird fucking
That's one of the parts of the book that I cannot read, that I skimmed through. I was terrified. I was like, no, I'm good.
Later, he was kind of just like, after he got up, he was kind of wandering around. He goes into the bathroom, he pulls back the pink curtain, and he thought to himself, what if somebody died here? And that moment, I knew I had my book. So literally, that one stay, he concocted this entire story of The Shining. So The Shining wasn't actually filmed there at all, but it became one of his first major bestsellers. And this brought a lot of foot traffic back to the hotel. Today, the hotel has 140 rooms, a restaurant, a spa, a concert hall where film festivals are currently held, or were at one point, a pet cemetery on site, and it has been listed on the National Registry of Historic Places to help preserve the building. So now we can still kind of do renovations. Dumb and Dumber was filmed there. An indie band named Murder by Death performed some winter concerts there for a while. And it did host between 2013 and 2015 the Stanley Film Fest, which is an independent horror film festival. Now, they don't do it anymore, but if you look at the concert hall, it's actually fairly big considering that it's, but it is also a large property. So now we're going to get to the ghost stuff, because there's a lot. It's not a lot, but it's fun. It's kind of similar to yours where the ghosts aren't like malicious, which was nice for a change. So in 1911, FO had installed gas lanterns in each room and provided guests with a light, because at one point the power went out, and in order to avoid that with the generator backup system type of thing, he was like, let's put lanterns in there so people have the ability, and he'd give them lights. Makes sense. Okay. But there was a gas leak that caused a buildup of colorless gas in room 217. So nobody knew about this at the time. Elizabeth Wilson, who was one of the chambermaids, entered the room with a lit match to light the lantern, which caused an explosion. So she survived, but was thrown back from the room all the way to the dining hall. And she actually was in a coma for a couple of days because of how abruptly she was thrown.
Hold on. Let's just make this make sense super quick. So she was going into the guest room and she had her lit match and she lights the thing. And then when she blows up, she moved like 2 floors away. Like, it's not like down the hall. She went through some floors.
It
like there was
it's
a
a
floor
miracle that she survived.
and she picture Wile E. Coyote going through the rocks as he's falling from 2 whole floors. She flew through and ended up in the dining room. It wasn't on the same floor.
No, if you look at the floor plan, it's downstairs. It's not on the second floor.
She started up here and she ended down here.
It was a miracle that she survived. And she was definitely in a coma, but then she returned to work, which I was like, that's crazy how much she was like, I love my job.
And she honestly had pretty limited injuries. Yeah. She had some 3rd degree burns, I think, on one of her arms. Of course. But otherwise, she kind of came back and was like, "No, man, I'm good. Let's fucking go.
Let's do this.
And I
got this.
Yeah, bro, I know how to make a bed. Let's fucking go." I don't think Stanley actually ever let her work again. She was allowed to hang out on the property and do fun things.
Because he's
but he kind of just paid her to be around. And I think even if she was like, no, I don't want to come back, he was going to pay her anyway. They put a provision for her in the will, I think, almost too, her and her descendants, because of the beating she took that day. Yeah. He looked out for her after that.
It's said that her spirit inhabits room 217, which is actually the same room that Stephen King did stay in too.
Imagine if someone died here. She almost did, bro. What? She almost did.
What if somebody died here?
Imagine if somebody died here.
Oh my God. So she's been known to be helpful. So she tidies up the room. She tucks people into bed and she organizes their stuff. And sometimes people have encountered someone making the bed with them in it. So they're she's tucking the sheets in while they're sitting in bed.
Bitch, please. My leg hangs out. Monster on the bed, come fucking get me, bro. Don't touch my shit. Don't fuck with my sleep, as they say in A Paranormal Chicks.
She was a bit old-fashioned, of course. So when there is an unmarried couple that stays in the room and they share the same bed, she gets a little... Yeah, it's a little risque for her. So the couples have recalled that there is a coldness in between them, in between the two of them in bed.
You two want to sleep together? That's fine. Think of me as the wall of China.
I'm here.
You ever had barbed wire between your legs, bitch? Trespass. I got you.
Sometimes it's been said that the male's luggage has been packed in by the door the next day. She's like,
you tried. This was cute. Get the fuck out.
Oh. It's also suggested that she moves throughout the hotel. So in room 407, there's also guests report a helpful ghost or entity who organizes stuff. There was a child who kicked the covers off of himself and she tucked him back into bed type of thing. So, she's very sweet and she's still there. FO and his wife Flora have been detected as well. FO usually helps lost children if they seem like they, lost track of mom and dad. He'll guide them back, so that's sweet.
Aww.
He's also seen usually in the bar or the billiard room, mostly just kind of wandering. Flora is usually seen in the concert hall, sometimes at the piano, sometimes playing said piano, because that's what she really loved. Ghosts of children wander and play around the fourth floor. And it's said that if you're on the fourth floor, you can hear running and screaming of children just like having fun. And people are like, what the fuck? And they go outside to be like, I'm going to tell those children off, and they're not there. So it's just playful stuff. They like tug at their hair. Underneath the hotel, there's a network of tunnels. So I actually thought that this was kind of connects to your story too, because it was said that if you see the staff actually doing their job, it was seen as unprofessional. So they made these tunnel systems so that the staff can go from floor to floor without having the guests see them.
That was another big Disney thing too. That's why underneath the parks they have the tunnel systems.
Interesting.
Yeah, they kind of stole that. They stole a couple things from this idealization of like, you're not supposed to see certain things behind the curtain. And it just was like a time that Walt Disney was like, dude, this makes so much sense to me. We're going to implement it at my parks.
It's very high scale type of idea, I think, where it's like you can't see the staff taking your towels and bringing them down. The ghost of the pastry chef is said to be seen in the tunnels because you can smell the baked goods as you travel down there.
Bitch, I'm in, and there better be fucking baked goods when I find it. Like,
there better be bread.
I better have a croissant. Hold on. A croissant. I want it. Give me a scone.
I could just and so it seems to me it's just like he's just still there. They sometimes see him, but usually it's just the smell that wafts through.
That's rude.
And some have recalled seeing a gray cat with bright green and glowing eyes. This cat is not really known. It was not one of the ones buried in the pet cemetery, so they're not quite sure where he came from. But you gotta have a spooky cat down there too. It's fine. So, room 401. There's an unfriendly male ghost detected. He is a little handsy with the female guests, and he tends to make people, especially women, feel uncomfortable. Some think it is Lord Dunraven. He never visited the hotel, but he's dressed and has this typical like Irish garb to him and everything, and he looks very much like Earl Dunraven. It's just very weird that he would be there. I'm not surprised that he would be handsy, because it kind of seems like nobody liked him, so I feel like that is par.
Yeah.
But, Room 428 is said to be the most active, and it has heavy footsteps and moving furniture around. A presence of a man dressed as a cowboy has been seen in there. There's no record of a cowboy staying, but they're thinking it could be someone named James Nugent or Rocky Mountain Jim. Rocky Mountain Jim was a local mountain man, and his exploring was responsible for the founding of the area. So he's very kind, he's very sweet, he smiles, and he does offer ladies little cold kisses. So not as gropey as the other one. So
yeah, ask consent.
He might be a fun one. Yeah.
Ask consent.
So it kind of just seems very old-fashioned type of like kiss the hand of, very.
I'm good.
So that's kind of what I thought.
I'm good.
In the concert hall, again, Flora is seen playing the piano at the piano, but there's also a man named Paul who used to work at the hotel in the early days and enforce an 11 p.m. curfew during that time. So, guests and employees reported hearing someone tell them to get out, but not like a get out. It's more like a hey, leave type of thing. And even construction workers who are around the area said that they were nudged and kind of pushed until they got out of the concert hall room, as if he's like, hey, it's time to leave. Goodbye. So this is kind of the last thing, is that many psychic mediums who have visited said that the stairway is very packed with paranormal energy. they suggest it's a paranormal portal that might exist. And there have been children that have been seen on tours that are just kind of there. There's actually a picture of one that was, I believe, either from the website or from something I took. And it's a full, you could see the girl in the nightgown. She's on the side. There's a whole tour of people, and she's just kind of like listening on the side. And this is where a lot of like the normal paranormal evidence that, you know, ghost hunters and all that kind of stuff have taken to. So, so yeah, that I was excited because whenever you hear the Stanley Hotel, you think Stephen King, but he really did help to bring back foot traffic because it's doing really well today. And you can stay in any one of these rooms and experience. And there's actually the person who owns the hotel now, which a lot of people say he has a lot in common, like personality wise, with F.O. Stanley. He said that there is a book at the guest at the you know, the guest sign in, and he's like, if somebody has an experience, he encourages them to write it in there. So and he actually published the first like 6 of them. So there's actually like it's very interesting. And he's like, I haven't experienced anything, but there's pages and pages and pages of people.
I think I need those for Christmas.
I know. I
need those for Christmas.
Like it's just.
Yeah, that's wow. The Stanley is one of those I can just talk about for hours and hours and hours. Like
I was nervous about doing it because that
so
one
like
too.
Jim Carrey when he was there, he was on the 4th floor and somebody kept knocking on his door. And then all of a sudden he felt a presence. It was like, I can't stay here anymore. And I think they had to bring him off property except to film. Like, I'm pretty sure he was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
They said he ran out of the room half naked and was like, I'm not staying there.
I'm good.
So yeah. Which, you know what? That's fair. But I was nervous about doing it because Sam knows a ton about paranormal and ghosts. So I'm always like, this isn't my wheelhouse. So I always feel like, all right, I gotta
yeah.
I gotta make sure I do it.
The other cool part about the Stanley is there are parts, like Jen said before, there's 11 buildings, 7 to 11 buildings, something like that. And they are all connected by those underground tunnels. But there are parts that you, as like, even if you take like their tours, and because they have haunted ghost tours, they have a psychic on site 24 hours a day as long as the hotel is open. And you can go there for personal readings, or like, you know, if you feel something's going on, they'll walk you through the hotel and try and get you answers. So it's like an extra service. So if you want to go and be like, oh my God, my grandmother died, I need to talk to her, they'll talk to you on a personal level, but they will also talk to you about the hotel and what's going on. But one building, I'm sorry, I'm getting all over the place. One building, the carriage house, you are not allowed in. And it's literally just an open barn, basically. And one of the hallways to the ballroom is above this. So it's like people are walking. It sounds like there's a stampede going on. But if you're in the carriage house, whenever someone dies, like let's say you die in the hotel, which happens in every hotel. Like I'm not saying it's anything malicious or a murder. Like, you know, you just have a heart attack, you die in your sleep. For years, they would just take the mattresses that people died on in the room and just leave them in the carriage house. And they couldn't figure out why the carriage house was so damn haunted. Like it got to a point where, you know, they keep like garbage cans and storage and like extra maintenance shit there. And the maintenance people were like, fuck you, I'm not going in there. I got pushed, I got scratched, something hissed at me. Suck a dick, bro. I'm not going in there. And they couldn't figure out, why would this place be so haunted? Nothing happened here. Ba 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 ba. Bitch, you have all these dead fucking people's mattresses. Like,
it's so creepy and weird.
Yeah, so that was a huge thing. And they also, I believe they also have the hedge maze there.
They do. And they said that it's not haunted, but it is...
Florists seen quite often helping kids and people get out of there.
Yeah,
if they get lost.
Yeah.
Those are like my favorite ones.
They were just great people.
They really were.
I have like a new like love for the Stanleys because he was just so, oh yeah, I'll sell my photography thing that I made. It's fine. Oh yeah, we'll just do this. Like,
I believe that was a jumping point for Edison when he started making the moving pictures. Because Edison had a huge hand in like moving picture films. I'm sorry, this is my history major coming out so bad right now.
No, but I think it was just interesting that he sold it to basically to Kodiak, and they were like, all right,
let's go. Thanks, bro.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, great story. I love the Stanley. I want to go there too. So if you've been to the Stanley or the Hotel Monte Vista, make sure you email me. I'll probably ask if I can read it, but I just want to know. So if you want, like, you know, talk to us on social media, you know, all the good places, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
We gave you a couple more places to stay. So at the very least, like if you're like heading southwest, you now have 2 possible hotels to stay in.
So fun. So yeah, visit us on all of our socials. Make sure you go on YouTube, like, subscribe, review, and hit the bell so you know when. Yeah, look at me go, so you know when we get new vids. If you want, join our Patreon. We have a ton of new content there every month that you can get there from our website, deathbeforebooze.com, and then just click Patreon at the top. You can also get our merch when you click on the merch tab at our website. Make sure you email us, subscribe, rate, review, subscribe. I feel like I'm missing something, but that's it. That's it for me. I think I'm good.
That's it.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right. Love ya. Stay spooky. Bye-bye.